Welcome to another episode of the Break It Down for Brackens podcast. I'm Kevin Brackens, and today I'm sitting here with Keith Lowry. He's the Executive Director of the Jefferson County Community Ministries. My first exposure, the first time I learned about the JCCM, was through a program called Leadership Jefferson. That's a leadership program that's about 6, 7, 8 months long, sponsored by the Jefferson County Chamber of Commerce. During their community services module, it's a full day of learning about what kind of services are available throughout the community. We sat and listened to what the Jefferson County Community Ministry does for people. Keith, thank you for being on the podcast. I really look forward to learning more about it, and I want to learn about this music event that's coming up. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin. It's really a blast to be here, and it's great to be on your podcast. I can't thank you enough.
Great. So describe what the JCCM does and why it's important to the community.
So Jefferson County Community Ministries is a place that is faith-based, but it's community-focused. And our goal is to we have three major goals that we work with. The first one is to help those who are homeless. The second goal is to prevent homelessness. And the third goal is to create pathways and means whereby people can come back and stand on their own feet. In other words, become self-reliant again.
I love that.
And we do all of that with mercy and grace because that's where we come from.
Mercy and grace. That's really special. Rather, in compared to what? What would be an alternative?
It's not just a buzzword. When we say mercy and grace, because we do come from biblical teachings, that and Christ taught everybody should treat everybody else with mercy and grace. So that's how we try to treat our clients when they come through the door, is look at them and say, who are you and what can we do to help you? And we'll go out of our way to give them whatever they need.
That's truly wonderful.
And it's total wraparound service, and I can go into a lot more detail about that. But the whole purpose, when I say mercy and grace, is that if somebody comes to us and says, I need A, B, and C, if it's all possible, we'll try to get them A, B, and C. Sometimes we can't do all three. Sometimes we can do A and B. But we do everything we can to help them.
Can we describe what one of your clients might look like? Maybe it's a product of a divorce or a broken family. Maybe it's somebody getting out of jail, I guess. What would be a scenario? And then I know that there's clothes that's available. There's food that's available. Just let's hit some bullet points just so it really paints a picture, please.
So in Jefferson County, we have approximately 57,000 in the population. And Jefferson County Community Ministries serves about 2,000 families. So it's about 8% of the county. Some statistical things just to get them out of the way. We see somewhere between 45 and 5,000 clients a year that come through our door. 2,000 families. And it's really...
Do you mean 4,500?
Did I say 45,000?
No, you said 45.
No, 4,500.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
To 5,000.
Gotcha.
I apologize.
No, thank you.
Wrong. So we'll see 25, 30 people a day that coming through, and they're from all different backgrounds. And in just gross generalization, there are 4 categories, if I could just loosely lump them together. And one of them are people who come to us because of things out of their control. Someone got diagnosed with cancer and could not recover financially with all the treatments. During the pandemic, we had multiple people come in to say, both of us lost our jobs. And they went through all of their savings, and they came to us and helped us some more. The second category is people who have mental health issues.
Okay.
And they struggle throughout the community. Then there are those who are addiction related. So that whether it's alcohol or opioid or multiple issues with addiction, that causes and creates a lot of stress and anxiety in their life. And then the last one are people who choose to be that way. We have several clients who just don't want to have a place. They'd rather stay outside. Example, a couple of years ago, a person came in and said, we'd been working with them. We got them an apartment. And after the next morning, they brought the keys back and said, I can't stay inside. I have to stay outside.
It's just something about them. Okay.
Just something in their makeup that makes that way. Now, in general terms, those are four broad categories. But each of them can be intertwined with each other. So homelessness is intertwined with trauma, with being addiction, or having a mental health. They're all interconnected. And so when you say, what's the cause? It can come from anywhere. It could be your next door neighbor.
I was just throwing out stereotypes of what I thought it could be, and I love that you're explaining it more clearly. Thank you.
Yes. So we see 4,500 to 5,000 clients every year. We have over 150 volunteers. We have 70 different agencies that we partner with throughout the county, the state, and the federal government. And our whole focus is to bring all of that expertise and power into one place. So when somebody comes down to us and says, help me, then we'll say, okay, what can we do to help you, and what resources can we bring together to help you do that?
Well, that's really wonderful, especially when you add the component of mercy and grace.
And we're not restricted. So there are some government agencies. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
A government agency called us after they'd been trying to serve a guy who couldn't see. And they'd been trying to work with him for 9 months. But because it was a government agency, they were restricted in how they could spend the money. Mm. But this poor gentleman was living in a camper shell, no water, no power, no heat, and he was struggling because he couldn't see. Well, the day that this government agency referred him to us, we got him into one of our partners, who's West Virginia University Med, and we got him into an optometrist. And the optometrist said the reason he can't see is because he's got cataracts in both eyes.
Okay.
And I scratched my head and I said, so for 9 months, this government agency couldn't figure that out. That day, we called up another partner, and within 30 days, we had him up to Ruby Memorial in Morgantown. We paid for his transportation up, paid for his motel stay, got him into his cataract surgery, got the cataracts resolved, got him back into the motel, brought him back, and then helped him find a job.
Holy moly, wow.
That's what we do.
That's such a great story. That's really wonderful. And again, going back to the mercy and grace, I can imagine if you come across challenges in your life where you have to go kind of hat in hand to the community ministries and be like, please help. It's got to be a destitute feeling. And to be met without judgment, to be met with systems and guidelines and rules, but at the same time, with grace, that's a real special service.
And because we tend to be unrestricted in our funding streams. That means that whatever we need to spend it on to get this person back on their feet is what we'll do. So it's exciting and it's fun to be there.
That sounds truly amazing. But you have an event coming up. Let's talk about the event.
So the event we have coming up is it's called Voices of Classic Soul. And last year, around this time, we had our 40th anniversary gala celebration. And it was a formal dinner and black tie, tuxes. And we had Landau Murphy Jr. Come and perform for us in his band. And for those that don't know, Landau Murphy Jr. was the season 6 winner of America's Got Talent. And at the time, interesting story about him. He was born in Logan, West Virginia, Logan County, and his parents had separated or divorced, and he got shipped off to Detroit. And he was in the middle of gang territory, and he was playing basketball. And in the middle of the games, people would bring out guns.
Wow.
And he would just break out into song to calm everybody down.
Wow.
And he learned how to sing as a young kid. Then he came back to West Virginia, and he was working in a car wash and singing, and then he got picked up on America's Got Talent, and he won it that year.
Wow.
And so now he gives back to the community. So he came last year for our 40th gala. And because of the success that we had last year, we asked him if he would come back again this year. And he said, I will, but let me give you something else. In addition to him, the Voices of Classic Soul means that he's bringing members of the old Four Seasons, the Temptations, the Four Tops. And they're going to have a classic soul concert that from the 60s and 70s. And it's going to be fun.
That really sounds awesome. Where is it happening? When is it happening?
It's going to be Saturday, April 13th at the Ranson Civic Center. And we're excited because the entertainment's going to be there. Part of it, it's going to be little finger foods, so we'll have some snacks for people to munch on. But we're making plenty of room for dancing as well. So if people want to get up and move to the music, they can do that. And that's going to be part of it. And Landau Murphy will come down off the stage and he'll croon to people and, in person, and then he'll kind of mix it up and dance with them as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds wonderful. That's really cool. So not so much a sit-down dinner, but maybe finger foods. I imagine maybe people walking around with trays or whatever.
Yep.
That's really good.
And part of the fee is we have several. You could be a sponsor or you could be an attendee. Mm-hmm. And we have put it in stadium seating mode, so we can put up to 700 people in this Ranson Civic Center. And we've broken it down because last year we had our ticket prices up because we wanted to make it a formal affair. We had a lot of people say, you know what, it was too expensive. So this year we have arranged the stadium seating so that we have $25 tickets, we have $50 tickets, we have $75 tickets, and we have $150 tickets.
Wow.
And of course, the way it is, the more you pay, the closer you get to the stage.
Right.
Just like any other concert.
That's really smart.
And so we're excited for that. Then we have sponsorships. So if a corporation or a company said, you know what, I want to sponsor this, even if I can't attend, then they can come up and sponsor a table, or they can sponsor, so I've had a couple of people say, I'm not going to be there, but I want to donate 10 $50 tickets. And then you can just give them away to anybody who wants to come that can't afford it.
That's really special. This sounds like a really unique event. When an event like this does make money for the JCCM, how is it used back with your organization?
So JCCM started out 41 years ago, as I said, and it started out in somebody's garage. And then it moved to 2 garages. And it started out with the principle that 5 churches came together and said, if we combine our efforts, we can do more in combination with each other than we can do as individual churches. So that's how it started out. And eventually it grew and grew. And in 2002, we purchased an old J.C. Penney building in downtown Charlestown. And we've been in that building now since 2002.
That was a J.C. Penney building?
Yes.
Wow.
We're bursting at the seams, and we've outgrown. We have 7 departments.
It's always humming when I'm in there.
It's always humming. So we have intake, where people find out what we can do for them, but they also can provide. There was a big house fire, a fire that occurred on Mallard Court.
Remember that?
And 12 units burned down. Half of them came to us to say, "Can you help us get into more units?" So, for instance, one person had enough for the first and last month's rent to rent a new place, but they didn't have the security deposit. So we stepped in to help them with the security deposit by negotiating with the landlord.
Wonderful.
Other people came in and said, we have enough for the security deposit, but we lost all of our clothes. So all of those things are talked about in intake, so we understand exactly what it is we need to do. And then we get with our partners to say, we need $800. Can you give $200? We'll get another partner to give $200, and we'll bundle that together and send it off. We also have an agreement with our utility companies. So if somebody comes in and says, I've lost my job, but I've got another one, but I fell behind on my utility payments, now they're going to shut off my utilities. We have an agreement with all the utility companies that if we call them and say they're working with us, they won't shut off their utilities.
Gotcha.
So we work with that to make sure that they don't become homeless.
Let me jump in and ask a quick question here. Earlier you said you service more than 45 people a day.
It averages between 25 and 40 people a day.
Okay, yeah, 25 and 40. Are those new intakes?
Some are repeats.
Okay.
Because not everybody gets back on their feet
it's
after
scary.
the first visit.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Man.
So we have 7 departments. The first one's intake. Then we have a clothing closet. We give out about 5,000 pieces of clothing a year. We have a food pantry, and we give out somewhere between 250, 300,000 pounds of food a year, and we receive about 250, 300,000 pounds of food a year.
250,000 pounds. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's big for our county. Remember, it's only 57,000 people.
Right.
But it's a lot. Then we have a day program, and the day programs are helping people find the things that they're missing in life. So, for instance, if we have people that come to us that haven't worked for a decade or more, so they don't know what it's like to get a paycheck. They don't know what it's like to have to punch a time clock.
Or even apply or write a resume.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we'll help them with budgeting classes, how to write a resume classes, but we also give people part-time jobs so that they get that self-confidence back into them that said, hey, I can do this. And then some of our other partner groups, such like Martin's or Food Lion or Rockwool, they're also partners. And after they've been with us for a while, they will accept our people to come work for them at a higher rate.
Nice.
So we get them back into the community, get them back into working, and at the same time get them back into I can do this mode.
That's 3 or 4 departments. What's the next one?
So the next one is we have our cold weather shelter, which goes from November to March. Then we have
I'm sorry, is that in the same building?
No, we have a partnership with many churches, and so there's about 7 churches, and we spend a week at each or 2 weeks at each sanctuary, and then the weekend we move them to the next place.
Wow.
And I'm going to come back to talk about that because that's one of the reasons for our event. Then we have case managers, which are social workers. We have 2 licensed social workers, 2 part-time social workers. And then we have...
Those are paid positions?
They're paid positions because they're professionals and they work with people to solve long-term problems. Then we also have our healthcare department. And in our healthcare department, we're partnered with West Virginia University Med and with Shenandoah Community Health and with an organization called the Partnership of African American Churches. And between those 3, we provide on a weekly basis basic medical care for any client that wants to come in. We also have a licensed independent clinical social worker who does mental health counseling. And we just partnered with another mental health counseling agency, and we're probably going to have another licensed social worker to come in to give counseling to people. Plus, we have a psychiatric nurse practitioner who's a PhD who does medication management for psych medicines. So between those 3 entities, we're able to provide, once again, what are the issues? And remember, I talked about incidents beyond your control, mental health, or addiction. Those 3 things are conquered by the staff that we have right now. Now, when somebody comes in and says, I want to be homeless, we can't help them.
Of course.
But we'll do what we can. They see about 500 people a year, and that's amazing.
That truly is amazing. I love the word you use. That staff conquers. They conquer it. They find a way. They fix it if they can.
And the key here is that these clients have to want to get better because nobody can fix them except for themselves. So if you remember Maslow,
hierarchy
of needs, we provide the foundation of, all right, and this gets back to our homeless shelter. We provide somebody a basic place so they know where they're going to stay, so they're not fearful of where they're going to stay each night, and then we build on that and give them the ability to conquer the rest of their needs.
Food, water, shelter.
Yes.
And then the tools to move into the next levels I've forgotten from my college years. But yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where the funds...
Yes. So the funds, so we have 2 basic major issues coming up. because we're trying to, we have grown. When I first got there 3 years ago, we were seeing about 1,800 clients a year. Then it grew to 3,000.
Wow.
And now it's grown to 4,500 to 5,000. So we've grown exponentially over the past 3 years, and we're growing at a rate of increase of about 8% a month.
A month?
Yes, over the past month. So we're bursting at the seams, and what we want to do is build a permanent shelter so that people can come in and not have to worry about, where am I going tonight? It'll be the same place all the time. It won't be home, but it will be their emergency home while they're building to get into a permanent facility. And that's how we look at it. And we were given some land by the city of Ranson, and we're developing that. We purchased some land right next to it. And so what we're working with now is to create this basic foundational piece of having a place for someone to go so that they can then build on their hierarchy of needs to get back on their feet. In addition to that, we're going to build a building adjacent to it that will be what I call a day center, where we can provide them programs. And instead of saying, you can come in here from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then go off on your own, we'll provide programs for them, and we'll give them teaching. We'll give them an opportunity to do something other than to go out on the street and do drugs or drink alcohol or feel or become depressed.
What a mission!
It's huge, and it's fun. So that's what we do, and that's what the funds from this concert is going to help us do. It'll help fund our day-to-day operations, but it'll also help us build this new homeless shelter and day center.
What is the ideal turnaround time with the new project?
We are hoping, it's just amazing. We're hoping to have it done by November this next year. And we are now putting together a consortium of builders, major home builders, who say they want to all donate all of the material to build this property with.
Wow. That's huge.
It's huge. And we have the property, and so there's a couple of more pieces that have to line up, but if we're successful with this concert, that's going to go a long way in kicking it off.
Just like I said in the beginning, when I first experienced what the community ministries does, I was inspired. That was one of the components. I was inspired to do this podcast, to share more and to learn more. And then hearing your description of it is so thorough and so clear. Thank you for that. You don't know what you don't know, and it's happening right under your nose.
Well, could I share another couple stories?
Sure, yeah.
So about 2 years ago, when I'd been in the chair for about a year, and our staff got a call from a client who'd been with us for over a decade. Now, people ask, as you did, is it new clients or do they return? Well, when you're an addict, it's a cycle until you get to the point where you want to make a change. And no one can make that decision for you. And anybody who says, if I give you something, will you break your habit? That's not going to work. That person has to decide, I've got to change. We're there when they decide to catch them. And they can make that decision 5, 6, 7, 10 times. It doesn't matter. We're always there to catch them. That's where the mercy and grace comes in. So we had a client that had been with us for 10 years, and she'd been in and out of detox and rehab, but she called us from Baltimore, which is way out of our way. She said, I'm dying. I've been on heroin and trank. Can you come get me? So we drove to Baltimore, and we picked her up, and we brought her back, and she had all kinds of infections and things. So we worked with our partners and got her into the hospital to pump her full of antibiotics to get rid of the diseases first. Then with other partners, we got her into detox. Then with other partners, we got her into 28 days of rehab. And after she got out of rehab, we got her into another partner. We got into her halfway house. And we're helping her along this way to do all this. And then after the rehab, her family came back and said, she's a different woman. We want to bring her back into our house.
How about that?
And then after that, we worked with another partner, which is Blue Ridge Technical College. They have scholarships for people to do this. We got her into Blue Ridge Technical College, and she's now completed her AA degree, and she's a certified peer counselor to go back and help people in the same situation she was. And now she's been clean for 2 years, and she is on her way to helping other people get out of the way. So that's another example of what we do.
That's a heck of a story. Keith, thank you. Thank you for what you do. It's really something. I don't have words. I don't have words, and I'm truly amazed at. I don't have words. Basically, to me, how do you find the partners? Do they come to you, or do you request it?
You know, it's interesting. Success breeds attention and breeds more success. And for instance, the builders that came to us, we had a builder that we've been working with, and he came to us and said, I could build this whole cold weather shelter and day activity center, and I can do it for $400,000 because I'm going to donate a lot of stuff to it. Then he connected with a bunch of other big builders in the area, and he said, I'm going to do this, why don't you join me? And they all said, yes, we'll donate materials. So for instance, another builder said, I'll donate all the roof trusses. Another builder said, I'll donate all the windows. So wow, it's just success, building upon success.
I want to be involved. I don't know how big it is, but I'd love to learn more. And maybe you got paint covered already. But Brackens painting is, we always want to give back in ways that are more efficient, I guess. I want it to stretch. I want to see the impact, you know.
Brackens has always been a partner of ours, and so
Wow.
and thank you very much for doing that.
That was small stuff, you know, and then where we help out is just small stuff. But if I, and it's not about bragging, it's not about telling everybody what I did, it's about how I feel. If I have a 13-year-old company, which is about to turn 13, and if I'm able to give back on some level, and you guys would have it, or the builders would work with me, whatever it is, man, I would love to help. And we'll talk offline too, because I have some other ideas of ways to help develop skills if people were interested once or twice a year.
Yes.
Maybe teaching
That's
how to
exactly
paint.
what that day program is to do, is bring in people to teach, to give them other ideas, and help them get back into the community.
That's something I would definitely be willing to do.
Very good.
A couple times a year. Keith, that's really interesting to me. Let's get back to the event. So we determined that it's not a formal event, it's an informal event. There's tiered tickets, which gets you closer or farther away. It's not a dinner event, but there will be snacks. Or will there be cocktails?
We are not allowed to serve alcoholic beverages in the Ranson Civic Center.
Understood. That's okay. Says it's a no. Let's do the call to action now. So what would be the call to action for participants, sponsors, and then after that I want to talk about getting involved with JCCM as a volunteer or just making donations. So let's start first with participants. How do they find tickets?
So the call to action is come to our concert. And you can get the tickets online very easily. It's our address is very simple. It's JCCM.us.
That's easy.
Jefferson County Community Ministries.us. JCCM.us. And there is at the top, there's a thing that says concert. You click the concert tab, and it goes down and says, do I want to sponsor? Do I want to attend? And if you click the attend, it takes you to an Eventbrite page that has the seating layout. So you can see where the ticket grouping you are is going to be. And you can choose $25, $50, $75, or $150 per seat. And then you hit the button and it just takes you to the payment page. Or If you really wanted to get involved and you wanted to sponsor, you can send us a check.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way to do that on the sponsorship page. It just says, I want to sponsor, and it asks you to fill out information and tells you where to send the check.
Do you want to tell us what some of the sponsorship levels are?
So we have a sponsor. The grand sponsorship level is $25,000.
Wow.
Then we had one of those last year.
Wonderful.
And we're going to go for, I think we've got another one this year. Then we have $10,000. Then we have $5,000 and $1,000. And the smallest sponsorship is $500.
So it's something for just about any business size.
Yes.
That's wonderful. It sounds, in putting on an event like that, you have to have a little bit of event management or event planning experience. Are you getting help with that too?
Yes, we actually have a group called Orion Strategies. They're helping us plan the event and do it all, and they've just been superb. In addition to that, we haven't talked about it, with each ticket you get a plate full of food, a drink, and a ticket for a drawing. And we're going to have 5 to 7 gifts to draw from. And it's going to be a drawing. It won't be an auction. Mm-hmm. You just put in your tickets, and if you want to buy an arm's length for a tickets, it's $20, and you can load up whatever. So we have everything from a weekend at a bed and breakfast to a bunch of other things that I can't talk about yet because I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, you gotta wait for those confirmations to come in.
Yeah,
I get it. All right, cool. So online, guys, it's at jccm.us. That's where you get your tickets and you get sponsorship information. But back to volunteering for the JCCM or just donating money or goods. What's the pathway for that?
When you first go on to jccm.us, there is a little button off to the right on the top that says Give 20. And this is kind of like what you see for other organizations, but what we really need are consistent donations so that it help us budget. Right now, most of our money comes from generous people. About 50% of our donations of our annual budget comes from private citizens. And then another 25% comes from grants or from civic organizations. The remainder comes from churches and from other organizations. But the Give 20 is really cool because you hit the Give 20 and it takes you right to, I want to donate $20 a month or $50 a month to JCCM, and it pulls up this drop down, says, tell me your credit card number, and automatically once a month we'll take that out and donate to JCCM.
You guys have made it really easy.
Yeah, so
smart.
That's the call to action. Come to the concert, buy a ticket, be a sponsor, and go on and give 20 a month.
Keith, I love it. I don't think I have any more questions. I think we covered all of it there. I mean, you explained why it's important. You explained how it impacts the community. You explained how it impacts individuals. I mean, it really is a wonderful program that I think many, many people don't know how much you impact. And 4,500 to 5,000 people a year is enormous, so you said.
Can I give you one more story?
Yeah, sure.
Just today, we had a huge success story. About 3 months ago, we discovered a lady who had been abused for 10 years in her marriage. And she finally had the ability to get out of the marriage. But when she left, she had no bank account. She had no driver's license. Her nursing license had been suspended because she was disallowed from working. So she had to leave and had absolutely nothing. And she came to us, and we got her into one of our partners has safe houses. So we got her into a safe house. We got her into a program, give her a part-time job. We're in the process of getting her nursing license re-registered. But then she has she's afraid she's going to lose her child. So we got her hooked up with the Legal Aid Society. We had lots of partners, and just today we actually got somebody who's discounting an apartment for her so she has a place to stay and that she can have at least partial custody of her child.
And you guys are really moving the needle. You really are. Keith, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for all of it, and thank you for all you've done for JCCM in the past.
Nice. Wonderful. This concludes this podcast. I'm Kevin Brackens. That's Keith Lowry. Man, that was a really good one. Today's conversation was brought to you by Brackens Painting. You can find information about Brackens Painting at www.brackenspainting.com for all of your residential and commercial painting needs. Give Brackens a call.